Hey everyone, Caleb with the Antique Book Collective, as you can see right there. I'm being a little funny right now, I don't know. But right now I'm getting to you guys with the economic update as sort of promised. As I said in the poll that I actually sent out to you guys, I was like, oh, I wanted to do this video or this one. I actually have them all recorded, but some stuff came up over this past week that I was just sort of like, okay, I really cannot push this off any longer. I need to sort of do this video for the broader channel right now. With that said though, the reason why I'm doing this video a little bit later than normally is because I actually, in that poll, I asked you guys, did you guys want me to record it last night or record it today and have a little bit fresher of information? So we're doing it today. I'm doing a little bit later than I wanted to do, but that way I just was able to get a little bit more information, just to square some things away and make sure that I was really getting to you guys with the stuff that I wanted to get to you with, I guess. With that said, though, there are a few things that I really want to address with you guys. First things first, though, is I'm not going to address everything as in-depth as I would like to because, lo and behold, I did the in-depth video where I talked about all this stuff in-depth in my members-only channel. Well, not channel, members-only section of this channel. So you guys can join that down below. It's just 99 cents to see that particular video for 1 month, and then you guys can quit. I don't care. It's up to you guys. But I do sort of need to get some more members on this channel so I can actually unlock some more member stickers sort of things. Every channel gets their certain amount of stickers that are like for the actual channel, and I made a whole bunch of ones that I just want to use, but I'm like 5 people short or something, maybe a little bit more of people to be able to actually use it because I don't have any members really, which is sad. Anyhow, though, I'm not here to complain and gripe about that. I'm here to get to you guys with the economic update, the outlook, all that sort of stuff. And again, I'm not going to get to things as in-depth as I would like to, but I am going to go over quite a few different things in a relatively short period of time. First things first, though, I want to talk about bank failures with you guys. And I know some of you guys are going to be like, bank failures? Banks don't fail. We've never had a bank failure. And I'm like, well, just last year there were quite a few, and actually, in case you guys live not in the United States and you live in some other countries and you're like, oh, our banks don't fail, well, your banks fail as well. And I know there are some Canadian viewers that I have, and Canada was gracious enough to have their government put out an article that said that they haven't had a bank failure in over 100 years, and then, well, lo and behold, fact checks show that's not correct because the governments, as per the usual, are lying to us blatantly, and they just don't know what they're doing, I guess. With that said, though, guys, I do want to say I did have a theory. I'm still sticking with that theory, but a lot of other people have this theory as well, so I'm not crazy for it. But there was a program called the Bank Term Funding Program. Not too important, but that entire program, they actually had it so banks could actually sell all their assets. So let's say they bought something for $1 and it totally lost its value because it was a bad purchase or because one thing or another changed, and it went down to 50 cents. Well, the government put out this thing where it was like, hey, we'll give you $1 for it. And lo and behold, banks who lost half their money on that asset are like, you rootin' tootin' better believe I'm going to go for that one. And they did. However, that program ended last month. It's been maybe 3 weeks ago or so. So that was on I want to say the 15th that ended, somewhere around there. And that program has been over for almost a month now. And we have not seen any bank failures yet. The caveat there, guys, is yet. We have seen quite a few banks that are struggling out of the wazoo. It's not necessarily going to be in the mainstream media stuff all the time because they don't want to report on that. The mainstream people, they're basically paid to make sure that people keep on buying. People keep on wasting all their money on all these things. There's an entire conspiracy theory about this. Some people are saying it's because the government's making them do it, which there is rules that say the government can tell the media what to put out or not. Not getting into that for this video though, but there are other things that people say that are maybe a little less conspiratorial if you guys believe the government's good. Well, I got a bridge to sell you then. But for those of you that believe the government's good, here's well, it's not the government, it's the corporations being bad. Pro tip, not everyone's good out there, guys. So the government's bad. Several corporations are bad. Let's just accept that. But anyhows, there are people who say that all the mainstream media things are basically bought and paid for by Wall Street, which, look at things, yeah, they basically are. They're owned by Wall Street. That's sort of how things have evolved over the past couple decades. And as such, Wall Street needs to continue seeing people pour their money into the stock market so they can keep on padding their books, that sort of thing. So as such, you're not going to see those mainstream media things talk about the markets in a negative light very often unless things are totally getting murdered, in which case the business idea, I guess, of making sure that you're getting eyes might make you want to say some of the bearish things. But by and large, these people are only going to talk bullish things about the markets, so people continue putting their money into it, so it keeps on padding the bottom lines of all the people that are investing into that company, that sort of thing. That's all just speculation, though. Totally not factual. You totally cannot go in and look at the actual stakeholders of these companies and see that they are all major investing firms and hedge funds and such. Totally not. Look it up, guys. It's really simple. Anyways, though, bank failures. There's quite a few. A lot of people are saying that the largest banks are not going to fail because they are too big to fail. Doing that will ruin the whole country, so the government's going to do everything they can to save those banks. We saw that in 2008. Wouldn't be surprised to see it again. However, there are some people that are highlighting certain large banks, particularly one in particular that they're saying might be the sacrificial lamb to show that the government won't bail out the big banks every single time and they'll let that bank fail. I'm not getting into that in this video because I don't want to get flagged, I don't want to get blocked, all that sort of stuff, but it is something you guys can definitely look into. Personally, for me, I do not have all my money in the bank at all because I see that as unnecessary risk. Of course, that's not financial advice. This entire video is not going to be financial advice for you guys. Do whatever you want. Look up the things that I talk about if you guys want to actually know what's going on, but obviously I'm not your financial advisor. I don't want to be. It makes it so I have to hop through a whole lot of hoops and deal with the government with a whole bunch of stupid things, so I'm never going to do that. Anywho's, though, the thing that a lot of people are flagging, though, for banks that will be failing are the community banks. Still, I know we saw that last year. Well, people are saying it's going to continue happening now. A lot of the assets that were taken over by other banks from those failed community banks from last year are still toxic assets that are actually harming the banks that took them on. So there is one in particular in New York. You guys can dig into that. That was actually about a month ago. A lot of people were like, is this going to fail like tomorrow? And so far it hasn't failed, but we'll see what ends up happening. But I am definitely still watching out for that, because once we start seeing another flurry of those banks starting to fail, I believe we might actually see a more significant bank run than we saw last year. And last year, guys, we saw more money pour out of the banks, get pulled out of the banks by depositors than we saw even in the Great Depression, dollar for dollar wise. Percentage wise, I don't believe it was anything close to that, and that's just because inflation, the government's printed literally tens of trillions of dollars since then, so obviously it's going to be dollar for dollar a lot more. But same sort of thing goes for 2008. In this latest banking crisis that we had last year, more money was lost in those particular banks. As those banks went down, more money was involved than all the banks put together that failed in 2008. But again, that's because the government printed tens of trillions of dollars since then. And yes, I know tens of trillions sounds so huge, but in the government's world, I guess it doesn't count as everything. Count as anything. And that is why we have inflation like we do, is because the government continues printing trillions and trillions of dollars. They keep borrowing all this money, they keep spending all this money, they keep being absolute idiots at every single possible corner. Just watch out for that sort of stuff, guys. I'll talk more about that later on in this video. With that said, though, that's my little thing about bank failures. Not going to really dig into that too much more because, again, I don't want to go over this and make it a 5-hour video. But another thing I want to address with you guys, I sort of already got to this, but all lies. I have it written in all caps on my little note sheet right here just to make sure that I express to you guys just how much it is all lies. I mean, it is pretty stinking rough, guys. What am I talking about? Well, remember how I hated on the government earlier in this video? Well, I'm hating on them again right now. So all lies. Guys, it's actually a little bit painful. So the Federal Reserve Bank, which is not federal, it's not a reserve, and it's not a bank, but they are the ones that are setting all the interest rates for our things. They are the people that everyone's watching and being like, if they raise interest rates too much, they kill us all. If they start cutting it, they kill us all. If they keep it the same, they're going to kill us all. It's absolutely terrible. That's the thing run by Jerome Powell right now. That is the Federal Reserve Bank. People call it the Fed. They are actually putting forward actually some pretty good information that is actually honest, truthful, all that sort of stuff. You guys can actually look at their website. They have something called the FRED, which is Federal Reserve Education Department, I believe it's department, but just the FRED. They have all this data from all the different Federal Reserve banks. There are quite a few across the United States. All of them are doing reports to the main Federal Reserve, so they have all the information available. They have really good data, guys, because they are talking with all the banks of the entire country, and not just that, but they are talking to the industry leaders. They're talking to all these people, gathering information from all these people to make sure they have the best possible data so they make the best possible decisions. Personally, I'm not a fan of the Fed. I don't like any central banks, but we currently have a central bank in America. Lucky us. Cough, cough, not really. They are some of the ones responsible for printing all the money we have now. Believe that. Wow, aren't we lucky? Wow. But anyways, they've got really good data. Their data is not all lies, lies, and lies. But it's interesting because the government itself, so I'm talking the executive branch of the government in particular, are putting out all these reports and being like, aren't we doing a great job, everyone? It's the best economy ever. And then you have people on the side of the road totally homeless and can't afford to do anything because the economy's not the best one ever. The people saying it's the best one ever are basically the dirtbags living in ivory towers that are eating off their silver spoons. In fact, they got rid of their silver spoons last year and traded them out for gold spoons because the economy is great for those of them who are close to the government and are able to get the first bailout money once you have inflation happen, guys. So let's say there is let's say there's $1,000 in the entire world economy. If the government goes and prints 100 more, that's 10% inflation of the money supply. And when they do that, though, they're not going to spread it to everyone equally. They're going to give it to their friends first. And when they do that, that means all those friends have those undiluted dollars almost first, so they get to spend it more, and then it isn't until that money is spent in the broader economy that people realize, oh, there's a whole lot more dollars in the economy. That means the dollar is not worth as much because supply demand. When there's more of something, it's worth less. That's supply demand. That's how it works. But because these ivory tower dirtbags are close to the government and get the first of the money, and also because they own assets, they are actually able to benefit the most for when inflation happens. And it's also why they are the ones saying everything's great. It's going good. I don't know what everyone's talking about. These numbers that we have here are going great. It's amazing. Problem is, guys, the amount of people actually reporting for these government surveys that they're putting out is right near record lows for the amount of people actually answering the government. The United States government is asking them questions, and record lows of people actually responding and giving them answers. As such, their information cannot be very accurate just from the get-go because, again, they don't have all the people reporting as they used to report because everyone's busy because the economy's terrible and everyone's trying to tread water. But with that said, in addition to all that, they are actually not even using data all the time. They're going out and saying things that are blatantly and, painfully so, not true to the actual public. And then the mainstream media people, they actually go and run with these things, and it's actually a little bit scary how much the mainstream media people have become complete and total shills for the particularly the executive branch. I'm not getting into political party things, but we all know that sort of stuff. I'm not getting into that. But it's crazy how it's just become convoluted. It's no longer the media is the one questioning the government. They are the ones being the bullhorn for the government, sharing everything, making sure we all hear it. Hey everyone, did you hear the government says? And it's all truth. It's the Ministry of Truth, people. Isn't it great? Welcome to 1984. Oh wait, no, it's 2024. Huh. But anyhows, it's really bad how many lies they're putting out. And I'm not just talking about, oh, it's record job numbers, everyone's doing great again, and then you look at the actual job numbers and we're actually losing full-time jobs and gaining part-time jobs, which isn't it great? Wouldn't you guys rather have a part-time job that pays for you to use the public transit but doesn't pay for you to keep your house? Because that's what a full-time job does, basically. Obviously, it's not that cut and dry, but that is actually the numbers. All the job numbers that they're saying we're gaining is exclusively, I think it was last month, was exclusively just part-time jobs, whereas it's full-time jobs we are still losing. In fact, there are millions of jobs now, I believe. I didn't get to check that number quite yet, but I believe it's millions of jobs now that they have said that we've gained over the past couple of years, which we have not actually gained. And statistically, we have not gained these jobs. They have said we did, and then they go back after they say, oh, we had a great jobs number thing. They go back the next month and say, oh, we actually only got 5 new jobs. Isn't it great, guys? And they said we got millions. It is legitimately scary how many times it's been like that. I believe I heard just this morning that over the past 15 months of job numbers they put out, 13 of those have all been revised downwards. So let's say they said we made 1 million jobs every single month. They revised 13 of those all down to be less than 1 million. Let's say it's just 5 million. Let's say it's 2 million. It's crazy. I mean, it really has been that large of a variance. And legitimately, we are talking about millions of jobs that they say have happened that have not happened, which is very painful. And there's lots and lots of other data that's coming out that is completely and totally blatant lies. That's why I mentioned the Fed earlier on in this little spiel. They actually have a lot of the actual accurate data. They are the ones that are oh, here's this data right here. And it's actually funny. A lot of the conspiracy theorists out there are looking at what the actual government's saying and are weighing that against what the Federal Reserve, which actually knows what's going on, is actually publishing in their actual data, whereas the government's not really publishing data all the time. They're just saying their stupid headlines of lies. And these people are actually doing their thing. They're not calling out the government. That unfortunately, they don't see it as their place to actually call out the government, which really stinks because they're a little more noteworthy and trying to think the right word for it, but they are a little more professional, if you will, and able to challenge the government, but unfortunately they don't see it as their place to do that, so the government just keeps on spouting their lies, and it's worse lies than I would say we've heard in quite a few years. Maybe not 4 years ago, worse lies than that, but it's pretty bad. And the last 4 years now that we've had a certain president have been absolutely terrible because that president is convinced he's the best one ever for the economy, whereas according to the actual data, the polling numbers of the people, they say he's doing the worst job for the economy out of like all presidents for modern history, basically. It's really bad, but he's convinced he's doing the best because those ivory tower people that I mentioned earlier. Anyhow, I know you guys aren't here for a rant sort of video, so we're moving on to the next sort of thing. And at the end of this video, guys, I do want to address also what I'm doing for my business and all this to make it sort of tie into antique books, but we're getting into that later. So what I'm hitting next, guys, is gold and silver all-time highs. So gold and silver, I don't know if you guys love it, don't know if you hate it. Frankly, I don't care. Frankly, for all of you guys to know, I do like gold and silver. I do see it as a value. Personally, I would rather put my money and trust, well, my time and trust into something that has been money for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years, as opposed to a piece of paper that people tell you is worth something now that has been around for a little over 100 years. So, which one sounds a little bit more useful? Something that catches fire in a house fire, or something that's going to outlast me? Let's think about that. But anyhow, there's a lot of reasons for gold and silver. Not getting into that in this particular video because not financial advice, not getting into that. You guys do your own thing. I do have a lot of videos that I personally, channels that I personally watch, that I personally subscribe to, that I personally like to listen to. I actually do link to those, so you guys can click my channel below. So it's either going to be around here or around here down below. Click my channel name, and you go to the About tab, and once you go to About, scroll on down to the bottom, and it'll have like my other book channels that I like subscribing to that are reselling channels. But then right below that, I actually have the economy and gold and silver channels that I subscribe to. Initially, that little list was like 5 channels or something like that I shared with you guys a few months back. But after my most recent economic update video for my members, again, I did a members only video where I really went into stuff for them. But after that video, I promised in that video that I would update that video to like include basically everyone that I'm listening to, so that list is incredibly long right now. I apologize for that, but if you guys do want to hear some people that are just like cut and dry, really, I'm gonna say sticking it to the man, if you will, there are 2 particular channels that I do want to tell you guys about for that, so excuse me for a moment as I pull it up on my phone, make sure I'm not doing anything wrong. But the 2 channels that I would recommend you guys check out if you do want to hear people that are gonna sort of say it as it is a lot better. One of them, I call her Crazy Prepper Lady. I'm sorry. And yes, I'm talking about prepper as in preparedness, world ending sort of stuff. She doesn't actually believe the world is ending. You can't really prepare for that. But this particular lady, she can get a little eccentric. I find her very fun to watch, but she has amazing, amazing data, guys. Her channel name is Lynette Zhang. So I do, again, guys, I have that linked in my YouTube About section at the bottom. Be sure to check out her channel. She has some amazing data. Another one is Sachs Realty. So that one is a real estate channel, but real estate is a large part of the American economy. So Sachs Realty, they have had some amazing guests on that have done some amazing work. Really, really good channel. Highly recommend you guys check out that. And additionally, there's one called Gold Silver with Mike Maloney. Highly recommend that one as well. Those are the top 3 I would say for you guys to watch if you guys just want some broad information on what's sort of going on. Personally, for me, I can't really pick a favorite between those 3, and honestly, I did cut out quite a few of my favorite YouTube channels for this information, because I don't want to list off 100 different channels for you guys, but those are the top 3 I would say for you guys. Again, that's Lynette Zhang, that is Sachs Realty, and that is Gold Silver with Mike Maloney. I highly recommend you guys check out those 3 for a really good look at what's going on right now. They are saying it as it is a whole lot better, and if you guys want to dig into gold and silver a whole lot more, the Lynette Zhang lady and the Gold Silver with Mike Maloney guy will both get into gold and silver a whole lot better than I'm getting into it in this particular video. Sorry. With that said, though, guys, I mentioned gold and silver are hitting all-time highs. That doesn't happen in good times or good economies. That happens in times of deflation, inflation, recession, depression, stagflation, all these sorts of things. So the last time we have had an economy quite like we have right now. It was actually in the 1970s. Roughly, there are so many stinking correlations between the 1970s and now, including idiot presidents. Cough, cough. Sorry, Jimmy Carter. Maybe you're not as bad as the current guy, but with that said, we're having some interesting moves in gold and silver. I don't know if you guys have been watching the markets at all for gold and silver, but silver, before the lockdowns, I want to say silver was like $15. Now it's $28. I want to say gold. In fact, I can actually pull it up for you guys if you guys actually care. But I want to say gold was well under $2,000 before lockdowns. But I want to get the actual number for you guys just to make sure. So, excuse me for just a minute as I zoom out. So it looks like gold was about $1,300, and it has gone up over $1,000 in the past 4 years. Let that sink in, guys. Gold, something that's supposed to be one of the most stable assets known to man, has almost doubled in price in under 5 years, yes, but in about 4 years, it's almost doubled in price. That does not happen. That should not happen. That cannot happen unless things are incredibly, incredibly wrong. And personally, for me, not financial advice, not doing a outlook sort of thing for you guys on this. Personally, for me, I am fully and entirely expecting that gold and silver will continue rising for definitely the short term, but I'm not going to throw out price forecasts. I do personally have some that I share with my people, but not sharing it with you guys because you guys aren't the members. You guys aren't my family. I'm not going to share that sort of stuff. But let's just say silver is still about half of its all-time high that was set years ago. Gold is past its all-time high, so there are people saying that silver does have a lot more room to run. There's also rules of thumb with the gold and silver market of gold leads, silver follows. Right now, I would say we are in the silver following sort of phase where gold has already hit its new all-time highs. People are expecting silver's finally going to catch up because it always sort of follows it. There are people that say that gold and silver, gold's the big brother, silver's the little brother that's trying to show that he's just as cool, and he will chase after the big brother as the big brother does his thing, and then eventually the big brother will stop and he'll keep on running and do something bigger. That's just something for that. Again, I'm not getting into that, not financial advice, not promising that'll happen, but that is something to keep in mind, guys. And seeing as how gold has already doubled, and if silver was only $15-ish before all the lockdowns and all that shenanigans, well, if gold doubled, then I wonder if silver could double as well from that price, and it almost is at that point right now, so that is something to keep in mind since it's at $28 right now. And again, $28 from $15, that's a pretty good run, but gold being up over, actually, yeah, I'd say over $1,000 from about 4 years ago. That's pretty stinking awesome too. In fact, of this current century, so the 21st century, that is the 2000s for those of you that aren't following along, gold and silver have actually been the top performing assets for, like, you have the tech sector, you have the auto sector. Gold and silver, the precious market sector, has actually been the top performing one. Gold in particular has been the top performing asset and has outperformed the S&P, the NASDAQ, all these sorts of things of this century. So if anyone tells you that gold and silver don't make money, don't do well for you, all these sorts of things, well, they are either lying to you or they're idiots or possibly both, that sort of thing. Anyhows, that is that for the economic update. It's a lot of lies and it's a lot of scary things. I know I mentioned the stagflation thing. I would like to dig into that more. There's a lot of data saying that we are in a stagflationary era right now. There are inflation pressures, there are deflation pressures, all these sorts of things. But I'm not getting into that for this video. That's the members only video. In fact, I might dig into it more if the members in the members only want to hear some more of that sort of stuff. But with that said, ending this sort of part of the video, onto the actual book business side of things. So guys, I mentioned 2 years ago that I was finally getting to the point that I was like, okay, the economy is definitely not where I want it to be. And because it's just not at all where I want it to be, I'm going to start preparing for a downturn. There are people that say that if you are early to a market call that you are wrong. I think those people are quite frankly just idiots. Personally for me, I would rather have my parachute on my back before the plane starts crashing as opposed to after it starts crashing. Let's think you're on a 747 or whatever. There's 200 other passengers and there's who knows how many parachutes, Pro tip, they don't have parachutes on them anymore. But let's say they did, and let's say you all had to parachute out. Would you rather be the guy who had their parachute on 10 minutes before something bad happened? Or would you rather be the guy that is scrambling and fighting everyone else trying to get to the parachutes as the other dudes who already had their parachutes are jumping out? For me, I personally, that's why I made these calls. That's why I did these things for my business. I'm the kind of guy that would rather be out of the burning ship, out of the burning airplane before it started blowing up and killing everyone. Like, quite frankly, I don't want to be a part of that. I would rather be vamos, adios, goodbye. And I'd rather be parachuting out by that sort of point. So for me, I was preparing ahead of time. As such, I was able to get some better prices on a lot of the things I did, including for my books. Since I bought all these books to try to sort of weather the economy crashing at the prices that I did before the inflation really started getting worse, I was able to get them for pretty good prices. Instead of paying a lot of places that I'm going to, guys, they're charging $2 per book now. I was able to find a lot of places that I can get them for $1, which is pretty stinking awesome. That really helps my business. I have a lot of books, guys, that they're not going to make me $1 million by selling just one book. However, I bought quite a few books that I will be selling at a lower price margin. I don't know, price point. There we go. Sorry. These longer videos, guys, it really gets to you. Anyhows, though, all of that being said, why am I talking about this? Why did I do this, this, and this? So I've talked about this in my other economic update videos, guys. I highly recommend you guys check those out as well. In fact, I post them and keep them up for a reason. It's not because I just don't want to take them down. It's because I'm saying stuff that's going to ring true no matter what time you guys are checking it. This information I'm talking about is probably going to age pretty well because I actually know what I'm doing, believe it or not. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't know what was going on at all. But with that said, my antique book business with the expensive antiques, I have fully expected that it would go down, and it has gone down a little bit. I'm surprised actually that it is as high as it is, and part of me is wondering if it's because, remember how I talked about the government's lying to us? Part of me is wondering if people are actually buying those sorts of lies and still spending some money like it's going out of style, like the government's telling you it's going out of style, keep spending all your money. Totally not going to backfire at all. It totally hasn't backfired before. Cough, cough, it has. Not getting into that, but it's interesting. I do have more sales than I expected to have at this point. Personally, for me, I was thinking, if the economy is going to crash, I don't expect I will sell any of the like low-end expensive books, but I would continue selling the high-end expensive books. That was sort of like how I was seeing things. And of course, we aren't near, not even faintly close to the bottom of the crash. In fact, if you guys look at the stock markets right now, we are still pretty close to all-time highs. We are going down though. But it's quite interesting because for me, I was like, okay, I expect this to happen and this to happen and this to happen. And on those things, I would say I'm actually a little bit wrong. Of course, again, we haven't seen crashes as bad as what I'm expecting, but I am still interested in how many lower-end expensive books are still selling for me. Of course, I'm getting quite a few people sending in half-off offers to me, which I never had before. And now I'm getting like people offering half or less than half for what I'm asking, which is quite interesting. I would say almost shocking, really. Because, again, I'm not used to that sort of thing. I was used to people asking for like $3 off, $5 off, and now I'm having people ask for like $200 off, and I'm just like, well, that's weird. But not getting into that for this video. Again, trying to keep things simple. Those are the expensive books. It's not doing exactly what I think. I'm still selling some, so my business is not totally getting murdered just yet. But back to what I was saying earlier on, and I'm sorry this part's a little convoluted, guys. I'm sorry I'm going all over the board. Trying to keep it sort of on point, but I actually bought a whole lot of low-end books to continue selling because based on my own research, based on the facts, remember guys, I talk about facts because facts are actually important, not how you feel. Feelings are stupid and feelings are fickle. Don't trust your heart deceives. But anyhows, I'm purchasing a lot of lower end books that will continue selling even as the market crashes. The reason for that is because historically, and again I talked about this in my other videos, historically people continue reading in market downturns. In fact, they actually end up reading a lot more most of the time. These people that are reading more are people who would otherwise be spending $700 to go to the movie theater every week. There are movie ticket prices are insane, guys, and I know people that go way too often to the movie theater, and I'm just sitting here like, did you win the lottery and like not tell anyone what in the world? But anywho's, imagine you have that sort of budget for entertainment. You lose your job, but you still are sort of inclined to spend money to entertain yourself. basically everyone is, especially in America. We are inclined to spend money to entertain ourselves. However, movies are expensive. Going to the amusement park is expensive. Buying a book, you can buy a book for $5, $10, and you're entertained for like 10 hours. So as such, people sort of invest into the books for the sake of escapism, but also entertainment reasons. And again, the sales of books in particular actually go up during economic downturns. That is a historical fact. Again, facts are important. They're more important than how you feel. They're more important than the narrative that the media is telling you, which is more often than not an actual lie that is statistically false, but they're going to lie to you because they can. Because you guys, for some reason, keep believing it. I haven't watched the news for years and years now. Cough, cough. I recommend you don't either, because the news will just scare you and lie to you. So, just saying. And I'd also like to add, a lot of immigrants that come from totalitarian dictatorship countries or just dirtbag countries in general, and I'm not saying the people are dirtbags, I'm talking about the government's dirtbags. A lot of those people will look at Americans and be like, why are you guys watching the news? Don't you know it's just propaganda? Huh. Imagine that. And then Americans will be like, oh, not here. Huh. Really? You're telling me one country of the entire world that is not lying to you? Huh. And remember how I said already that they are statistically proven to lie to you because of the actual facts? Huh. Anyways, books continue selling in downturns. The lower margin books for us, the ones that are worth less, are going to be the ones that continue selling. That is statistically proven based on my own research, based on years of research in addition to that. That is one of the reasons why I am buying these lower end books. It's also why I write my own books that I am having priced at the lower echelons of pricing. It's interesting because a lot of other authors that I watch as my competition, they are actually increasing their prices. So for me, I'm selling my books at 99 cents for quite a few of them. Not all of them, but quite a few. A lot of the authors that are writing quite similar books have upped their price to $1.99. I'm writing basically the same thing, but they upped their price because inflation. They're like, well, I'm still putting in all this effort. I need to get paid for my effort. Inflation's happening. Well, all those people that were spending we're paying $1 for a book now have to pay $2. Do you think they're going to buy that other author's book, which is just as long as mine, just as good as mine? Or do you think they're going to buy 2 of my books? They're going to buy 2 of mine. Of course, there are going to be quite a few people that still buy the other author because they're more popular than me. I'm an absolute nobody in the author space, but hey, not really my issue. I haven't really been writing specifically for this particular economy. I'm waiting sort of for the crash on my pricing strategy, so we're going to see how that actually ends up working. In fact, remember how I said that I've been watching the economy sort of slow down and start hurting? Well, as it's been slowing down and getting hurt, my book sales for my really cheap books have actually been going up and up and up, which I think is really interesting. My profits for it are doing a whole lot better now. Of course, I'm not making a living on it just yet, but it is really interesting watching. Anyhows, though, back to books that we are selling for eBay, because I'm sure you guys aren't too worried about me with my Amazon books. eBay. My low-end books. By low-end books, I'm talking someone can buy a book for like 25 cents off of me. Of course, I'm not selling an individual book for 25 cents, and I am charging shipping on top of that, but I am selling lots of books, as in not a whole lot of books, but I am selling lots of, say, 10 books that are all the same genre, 2 different people, or 10 books from the same author to a particular person, and that is a lot that I'm creating on eBay. I highly, 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 highly recommend you guys do that same sort of thing. For me, my bigger mover, I actually was surprised about this. My bigger mover is actually the mass market paperbacks, and I'm getting quite a few sales of those. I need to top off my inventory of them, but I don't really want to because it's a lot of storage space. But it is interesting how many of those I am selling because I also bought a whole lot of hardcover books that I do have priced quite competitively. Same sort of thing, but they just don't move as often, which I think is quite interesting. But with that said, those are the 2 things that I would personally be doing. Personally, for me, if I was going to do this all over again, I would invest more in my mass market paperbacks than I would the hardcover books. But that's just me. And again, those things I expect to have sales going up and up and up as the economy goes down and down and down. And that is something that for me in my business, I actually started putting money into, again, because it was going to offset the downturn. Because again, collectible things, as people lose their jobs, they're not going to pay as much for their collectibles, which, again, I've already started seeing. But in addition to that, they're not going to buy as many collectibles. The ultra-rich, remember the ivory tower people I mentioned earlier, a lot of them are actually still able to afford to buy more luxury items, which includes the nicer antique books. None of the ones I have behind me are particularly nice, sadly. But those sorts of things I expect to continue seeing sell. They might not sell for the same price, but they will continue to sell. That is historically proven, though that's based on the numbers I've seen. But that's all of that for that sort of thing. I hope that part was understandable enough for you guys. Again, you could still continue buying the more expensive books and listing them now, but just know that they might not sell, or if they do sell, they won't sell for the top dollar. It's sort of like the whole like baseball card market. Just think of it sort of like that. People are always going to continue buying their baseball cards, but some baseball cards are going to be selling for 15 million right now near the top of the economy, and at the bottom, let's say 2008 crisis hits, it's going to sell for 5 million. And we have actually seen numbers like that happen in these sorts of things. So just keep all of that in mind, guys. Whew, take a breath. What do you guys think about all that? If you guys do want to share your thoughts, please be sure to share them in the comments. I will be getting back to you guys, especially in the first day or so that this is listed. I will pay special attention to get back to you guys. After that, I get back to 99.9% of comments, unless they're being commented by dirtbags or idiots. Those people I tend to either delete their comment or not respond, because I don't know how to respond to some of these things. It's like, what? But with that said and done, though, guys, please be sure to drop a comment with any of your questions. There is a line that says no such thing as dumb questions. By and large, I do believe that, but sometimes there really is a dumb question like, what's banana? Sir, I'm talking about money and books. Why'd you get on to bananas? That's a dumb question. So please don't share questions about bananas unless you're being funny. I will accept that. Funny things are always accepted. But with that said and done, though, guys, again, be sure to drop your comments. I will definitely get back to you guys on that sort of stuff. If you guys would like to get into more of my thoughts and more what I'm actually doing with my actual bulk of my income, because this business is not where I'm putting the bulk of my income at all. If you guys want to get into that, that's in the members only side of the channel. Again, just hit the join button below. It's 99 cents to get to the one video that I just did. That's the long one, but I do have a higher tier where I do talk about this stuff in a lot more depth. So be sure to check that sort of stuff out, guys. Again, be sure to comment. I really do want to hear you guys' comments on this sort of thing. Be sure to subscribe. Right there. Do it really quick. Be sure to check out one of my other videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.